Hello, gentle marketers. Welcome to the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm. I'm Sarah Croce, as always, your host here, and this is another extra episode that I'm publishing right now in response to the current situation. So if this is your first time here, welcome. You are listening to a raw episode specifically recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I want you to know that this is not your regular episode. I continue to post those on Fridays where we do talk about gentle marketing. But right now, I'm wanting to serve you, my community of gentle souls, with resources that help us all deal with the current situation. So this is also an episode that is not posted on my website. I don't share it on social media. So I recommend that you subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app so you get notified about future extra episodes. So today I asked Dr. Annika Sorensen to join me. Annika is an old friend. We actually met once in Sweden at a workshop, and I want to give you some more information about her. Dr. Annika Sorensen is a medical doctor with more than 30 years of experience and a stress specialist from Sweden. Her mission is to help people avoid becoming ill from stress. With her unique medical perspective, she has helped thousands of patients learn how to manage stress in a healthy way. Her mentorship and workshops can help your leaders navigate through stress and learn how to manage stress daily. Again, this episode is not edited, so please excuse the authenticity. But I guess letting go of perfectionism is maybe just one thing we can learn during these special times. So without further ado, here's Dr. Annika for you. Hi, Annika. So good to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to our listeners.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. It's been a long time since we last talked, and it's really nice to be back in conversation.
Yeah, I know. When I was thinking about what other episodes I could record, I thought, well, on this other episode, I heard a doctor talk, and so I was like, do I know any doctors? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do actually. And I know my family doctor, but that's not the kind of doctor I wanted to talk to. So I'm so glad you came to mind. So yeah. As I mentioned. Obviously, we want to talk about specifically what's going on right now and how that is all related to anxiety and stress, because that's your expertise. And so right now, I think all of us on some level are kind of impacted by what's going on, even if it doesn't impact us directly on the health level. We still feel, I think, the collective stress, the collective anxiety, because it's all over the news and everybody talks about it. And obviously also we're starting or already feeling the economic impact, and that is stressful for so many of us. And when I think back in the early days of the virus, there were kind of comments and memes all over the place that shared that the fear might actually be the bigger problem than the virus, and that might cause more harm than the actual virus itself. So people were, there was some some kind of comments that were making fun of people for being so fearful, and it was kind of not a healthy way to mock fear. And I would wonder what you thought about that. Is that an actual fact? Talk to us about this impact of stress and fear and anxiety on our health.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When this came, that was one of the first things that I was talking about, is that the effects of the economy is going to be worse than the actual virus or health issues in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because it's a virus. We don't know very much about it. We know more today than we did in the early days, but it's still, so to speak, just a virus. And the fear that it is, that people started to fear and to go berserk kind of everything that they were doing because of the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into the businesses and to the way we're living. And when everybody is scared and don't know what to do, we do things we don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's part of how we work. We kind of go back to how we are made in the biology to begin with, and that is to fight or to run away. And we kind of ran away because we had no idea what this virus was. And some people, mm, what do you say, they kind of tried to make it worse than it was, and that to scare people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fear starts. And what the fear, stress, anxiety, and also depression are, so to speak, um, on the same line. They are grades of the same thing, or very close related. And all of these are based on our stress system, where we have the stress hormones uh, running around in our body, and they are supposed to be there at a certain amount because that helps us get up in the morning and all that stuff. But if you have a high level all the time, it interferes with our blood veins, with our other parts in the body, and it starts uh, affecting our health if it goes on for a long time. And now it has been going on for quite a long time, and it is, in my opinion, going to increase other health factors than what the virus in itself gives.
Explain that. What do you mean by that? Which other health factors?
Uh, um, the hormones that we have are um, the one that is the most harmful in the long run is the cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and if we have high levels of cortisol for a long time, it induces, not in every person, but you don't know in advance who will be affected, but it induces uh, um, cardiovascular disease, obesity, uh, diabetes, um, stroke. All those um, all those illnesses are based can be based on having high levels of stress hormones for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we will see an increase in that in the long run if this goes on. If we see the virus today, as I see it, it's like the flu in a way, but it has the problem is that nobody is immune to begin with, and that means that it spreads very fast, and everybody gets ill. That everybody gets affected, that gets the virus. And today we know that not everybody gets really ill. Some people don't even know they had the virus, and that's the same thing with the ordinary flu.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to give many deaths because so many are affected at the same time, because we are not immune. And
Right.
that's what they are talking about, to flatten the curve, to see that if we do what we do now, to try to keep distance and all that stuff, is to help the healthcare system not to get too many ill at the same time.
Right. So you mentioned the stress that we're experiencing. So even if we're not ill right now, if we don't have the coronavirus, uh, we are experiencing more stress, and so that means higher cortisol levels, which then could uh, lead to future illnesses.
Yeah.
So that's what you said. And at the same time, I've read articles that people who already have cardiovascular problems or diabetes or
Yeah.
are suffering from obesity, they're also unfortunately the ones who are get the most sick, right, if they have
Yes.
the virus.
Yes, and uh, I don't think anyone knows today exactly why, uh, but what the corona does in the lungs, if you get really sick, I mean, if you don't get very sick, that's no problem. But if you get really sick, the reason why they get so sick in the lungs is that there is an inflammation uh, that we don't see in an ordinary flu.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's because of its properties. I mean, different virus has different properties where they can harm. And with this inflammation, it takes longer time to recover. They have to be in the breathing aid for longer time than ordinary illnesses like this. And all these other the cardiovascular diseases, they are also inflammatory. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they use the same system, and that could be the reason why that they get more affected, because they already have an inflammation in their body.
Right. So it grows in a way, and then it gets too much to
Yeah,
control.
and I haven't seen any final um, reports on this, because I mean it hasn't been on for such a long time, but I think that could be one of the mechanism.
Right. So, okay, at the same time, it is what it is right now. And
Yeah.
so I think our job is to uh, really deal with the stress and somehow find ways to reduce it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about dealing with it now, but like you said, it could have future impact if we don't find ways to control the cortisol levels.
Yeah.
So you talk about your work is based around the system that's called the brain, body, and base system. So, can you give us some explanations about that?
Well, that's the base of how I think about stress. And um, uh, stress is in the moment, and you have to focus on in the moment. But even if you focus on the moment, it's not going to change anything. So in my world, is that if you want to have a stress management system for yourself, you first have to decide that you actually do want to have um, you do want to change, and that you uh, kind of find your own ways in what you want to do. And that's what I call the brain, the being aware that you have the problem, that you want to do something, and that you want to find out how to do it. That's the brain. The body is that if you want to do something with your stress or anything, you need to have energy. When you are stressed out, all the energy you have goes to the stress system.
Mm.
You just run around and you do what's easiest in the moment, even if it's not the best. But that's what you do what's easiest. So you have to figure out how to get more energy than what you have to be able to do changes. And I'm talking about those ordinary, quite boring things. Most people say it's about getting good sleep, doing your exercise, and eating healthy food.
Right.
Working on those things, those are the things that gives you energy.
Mm-hmm.
and gives you that extra energy that you need. If you don't take care of yourself, it's you're just going to run around in the same hamster wheel. And those two are you have to decide in your brain that you actually want to do it, and you have to get the energy in your body to be able to do changes with the base system. And the base system is everything that's around you, outside of you. Work, family, money, free time, network, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
everything that's around you. And those things you can't really, it's not in your power in the same way, but it's still in your mind that you're working with it. So it's not, it's outside you, but it's inside your brain to think about it. I don't know if that was clear or
Yeah, yes. So basically, what you're saying is, first of all, is mindset, actually wanting
yeah,
to do a change, and that has to do with mindset, and
yeah,
kind of taking yourself out of the hamster wheel, and maybe already it starts with awareness and saying, "Hey, I'm spinning. I'm just
yeah,
keep thinking about the same thing, and what if I actually take a bird's eye view and look at myself and say, what are you doing, Sarah? Why are you repeating the same thing over and over again? Stop and be in the present, and start with that mindset work. Um,
yes,
and then you go into the body, and yes, it's we can't repeat it enough, but that those are the things. It's healthy food, enough sleep, and exercise. Well, right now, let's talk about these three things, because
yeah,
right now things are kind of different than in usual life. Like, there's a lot of countries right now where you can't actually go out to exercise. So what I
exactly.
right now is an online yoga session in the morning, and I'm curious if you have other clients who shared with you what they're doing now that they're kind of housebound and have to kind of find ways to exercise inside.
Yeah, and we in Sweden we are lucky. We can go out.
Mm-hmm.
We can go running and jogging and all those things. you Most people don't go to the gym because I don't think gyms are open. But you have to find the things that you have in your nearby then. And if you have stairs, you can run up and down the stairs for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. You have to, I mean, these things might be seen as very boring, but we do need to move our bodies, otherwise we're going to have an epidemic of obesity after this. And another that I think really cool tip is to get some kind of working on your body. There was this old lady, and she shared how she was having a long life. And she said, every time I'm going to sit down, I'm sitting down almost 10 times. And when I nearly hit the chair, I raise again. And I do that 10 times before I really sit down. That means that she exercises her legs every time she's going to sit down.
Right, I can just see that making really strong upper
Yeah, and
legs.
that's so good. But and this was an old lady, and I think that's brilliant
Right.
because you need it for not falling and what you know and when you're old. But now it's all those little things that we can do at home. Nobody sees you, so it doesn't matter if it looks funny.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
uh,
great tip. I like that.
and then, I mean, I don't have any other. Yoga is a good thing because if you go to yoga, you usually have some kind of uh, system that you usually do, or you can find it online. There are other programs online that are free that you can, so you do some exercise at home, stretch, um, stand up every 30 minutes if you're sitting down. Set an alarm and then stand up and jump around a little for a few minutes before you continue with whatever. And there is nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself.
Right.
And you have to set the systems yourself too, because otherwise you would have someone come with calling you every half hour. And that wouldn't work, and you wouldn't want to feel controlled like that. So you have to set these systems yourself.
Right. I think the same goes with healthy eating, because right
Yeah.
now we're recording this just before Easter, and I'm releasing it on Easter Sunday, and so there's more sweets around and chocolate and just in general, I hear from a lot of people who are new to working from home that they find themselves going to the fridge more often. And so what would you kind of recommend instead of chocolates or those unhealthy snacks? What are some healthy things that we can eat and not feel guilty also about eating them?
Yeah, well, you have all the fruits and vegetables, and I mean a carrot.
Right.
You have those fine carrots, and I mean they can be really sweet in the taste. They're good for your teeth and they're good for your stomach. So you get, it's like a Kinder Egg, 3 in 1.
Yeah.
So they're well, the first thing is to don't buy the things that you don't want to eat.
Yeah. That's
And I know it's still the willpower. You have to have it by yourself. You can't have anybody. Nobody is going to force you to do one way or the other. So you have to decide. It's all about mindset. Everything is about mindset.
yeah.
And you can buy dark chocolate instead of ordinary chocolate, because you can usually not eat that much of dark chocolate. And then you have the thing that you can lock it in. You can give the key to your spouse or to some friend or whatever.
I eat a lot of nuts. Can you eat too
Nuts is
much
very
nuts?
good,
Yeah.
but everything, whatever it is calories.
Yeah.
So the amount it matters,
Okay.
even for the good things.
Okay. So there is such a thing as too much nuts.
There is such a thing as too much nuts. Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I hit it yet. I'll let you
I,
know.
I too love nuts. I think that's really good. And there are these seeds that you can buy,
Right.
different kinds. Uh, all those are better than the sweets, the candy sweets, because candy sweets is just sugar and
Right.
it's nothing else.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you anything that's good for your body except the calories. And the calories or the sugar is good if you are going into an insulin coma. But I mean, most of us aren't.
We're not there. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, uh, just about as with the exercise, it's about maybe take half hour, sit down and write down what you actually want, how you want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and what you make the list for what you're going to buy and what you're not going to eat. And then you have to use your willpower
Right.
and tell others that if you're in a family, you can tell the others, I don't want to eat this. I do eat it, but I don't want to eat it. And they can help you, tell you, don't take so much of that.
Yeah, kids are very good at that. They will always point it out. Oh, didn't you say you were not going to eat that?
Yes, and use them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, in this scenario, we have to use any method that works for me,
Mm-hmm.
and they are going to be different for different people.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's only in the total totalitarian states,
Yeah.
like North Korea, that they can force people to
Yeah.
do different things. We are not in that type of countries, right?
Right.
And we don't want to be there.
Right.
So we have to figure out for ourselves what's good for me.
Another thing that comes to mind with nutrition is alcohol. So,
Yeah.
um, I read that the alcohol
Um,
sales went
yeah.
up over
Yeah.
the last few weeks.
Yeah. All over the world.
Yeah. So I guess there's also this idea of numbing the stress and numbing the pain and the fear, and
Yeah, and that's
therefore,
what alcohol. That's what chocolate does too. I mean,
yes, true.
all of this is,
Yeah.
and the people that are usually drinking too much, they drink even more. And what's also a bit sad in this is that the domestic violence has increased,
Yeah.
because we are closer to each other. We're locked in
Right.
with each other.
Yeah.
And alcohol, of course, plays a big role in that part.
What does the alcohol do on your immune system? I can imagine that it's not good, but like medically speaking.
Medically speaking, what the alcohol does on, I'm not really sure how it does it, but alcohol is a poison to your body,
Right.
uh, and it affects every organ. And the most problematic is that it affects the brain, so that you lose your common sense. And exactly what it does on the immune system, I actually don't know.
I would imagine that since it's poisoning your body has to then work even harder to get rid of that poison. And so instead of getting this energy, you're wasting more energy because now, yeah, you might have felt good right in the moment after the glass of wine or whatever, but then the body comes in after and needs to, help you
It's to
clear
do the
everything out.
cleansing. Yeah.
Cleansing. Yeah. 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 What about the mindset then? So it's all very easy to say, stay positive, but how do we actually do it? How do we work on our positive mindset?
Um, yeah, I think I just want to take up the thing about sleep first, because we
Right.
didn't talk about that, because I think it goes into this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sleeping is the base of our well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So we do need to sleep. And when you're anxious, or it's hard to sleep because you think too much, I have this little easy thing that I've tried it myself in hard situations, and I have given it to so many people, clients. And it's that if you can't go to sleep, you just lie thinking. The brain can only think of one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned is that when you go to bed and you lie there and your mind is just popping around, if you start taking control of your thinking, and what you can do is to say, I'm thankful for having a nice bed. I'm thankful for the pillow, because it's soft and feels good against my cheek. I'm thankful for the linen, and I'm thankful for whatever around the bed, making you feel like you are in a very soothing place.
Mm-hmm.
And you constantly keep thinking these thoughts. You are not letting the bad thoughts in. They do pop in, but then you have to take control again. Uh, and eventually you fall asleep.
Right.
And then you fall asleep in a good way, because you were in a good place in your brain.
It's interesting. Yeah. So this gratitude, and I've practiced it, but a bit differently. So first of all, I have a gratitude journal where I write down 3 things I'm grateful for before I go to sleep. And then if I can't fall asleep, I can't remember who told me or where I heard it, but I was told to actually be thankful for my monkey mind because it's trying to solve a problem for me.
Yeah,
And so the minute I actually accept and I'm thankful for my mind, it kind of is this idea of surrender and saying I'm accepting the way I am and I'm accepting
yeah,
that I'm having these thoughts. And then I can totally imagine going even further and say I'm thankful for the bed and etc. So I love that approach. And so I guess gratitude is one of those ways, right, that we can
yeah.
work on our
And
mindset.
that's what I was coming to, the mindset for the day, because I use what I call a mini meditation when my mind starts working too much,
Right.
and then I close my eyes and I say the word release
Mm-hmm.
slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Release, release, and you do that over and over for a minute or for 10 minutes, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can say other words. It has to be a positive word, something that is giving you a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the same as, like I said, with the sleeping, we can only have one thought at a time in the mind. So if you start spinning around and you close your eyes and you start saying release, the other things will have to kind of go away a little bit for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, the fear or um, the danger in what you were thinking about gets a little further away. So
Right.
it's not that dangerous anymore. And you can think clear, and then you can solve whatever you were. You can get a good feeling instead.
Right. Yeah, I like that. I had these 3 statements: letting go, feeling safe right now. So when I was suffering from insomnia a few years ago, that's what I would repeat. And it never occurred to me that you could do that during the day as well to let go of anxiety, right? It's not just
Yeah.
for sleeping.
No, no.
Release or letting go it can be, yeah, whenever you are spinning. So,
Whenever your mind, when you get stressed, I call that one of my um, quick fixes,
right.
because you can buy a lot of stuff as quick fixes. You have an app, or you have to, and you have to kind of keep track of the app and keep track of those things. This you have inside you.
Yeah.
It's there all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And another thing you can do, of course, when we talk about this, is to help you is to put notes everywhere about doing the exercise, because the more you do the exercise, or those little moments, the easier it comes to you.
Right. So, for example, also maybe, since we're all with our phones all the time, having a reminder on your phone to
Could be.
release. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I mean, what we have talked about here is a very odd situation that nobody on earth now have ever experienced before.
Right.
I mean, there've been pandemics, but they were in another time. They didn't see the world as we do now, and we have different regulations that we have to care for in different countries, and we do have to take care of ourselves. We have to do it ourselves
Right.
wherever we are.
What do you see as a positive outcome? Is we talked, yeah, obviously, medically speaking, there's a lot of negative things right now, but what could be a positive outcome from a medical or from a health standpoint from this?
Uh, positive. I hope that all the organizations and the communities and governments and whatever, that they actually do learn and start cooperating better.
Hmm.
I hope that it will not push countries apart, because there is a bit of a risk for that, because it's me first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a normal way to work, because we are humans.
It's the
That's,
survival instinct.
yes, a survival instinct.
Yeah.
Uh, but if we raise our eyes above that, we can see a bigger thing, that we can really help each other in a better way. I uh, I think that it will be. I hope at least that people will understand that we have to care for our environment, the globe, in a better way.
Hmm.
There will, I think that there will be a very good society, but it will be different. And it's too early to say what is going to happen.
Right. So you talked about kind of the collective. I also hope that as individuals, we see that, all these things that we talked about right now that are so important in order to be resilient,
Yeah,
more resilient in case something like that ever happens again, or just in general. It gives us a good picture of the somewhat unhealthy state of that human beings are
yeah,
in a lot of countries. And yes, I'm specifically thinking of the US, because that's what we hear a lot about now, is how people with diabetes and obesity are suffering more from this. So
yeah,
I also hope that there will be some kind of change in diet, and in people taking more care of themselves, so they will be more resilient.
yeah. It's kind of a back to basics, because that's what shows is the working thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We
Like
have we
people are
have
talking
to,
about, sorry.
yeah, we just have to adjust to what our biology is.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been talking about all the time for years now.
Yeah.
but but people think it's kind of boring, because it doesn't give that moment, or the momentary joy.
Yeah. It's yeah, and often, like I always say, there is no paradigm shift unless there is something so broken that we do need to change.
Yeah.
So
That's
in a
true.
way, that's unfortunately what we're going through right now.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
as a whole, I think there will be good out of this.
Hmm.
I just hope that there are dark forces. They have always been there, but they can, some of them try to use this situation, and I just hope they don't win.
Yeah, and it might take a bit longer, because those are going to hold on with all their might to their power. So
Yeah,
it might not be, this year or next year, but I think the trend is definitely towards, yeah, more collaboration and less power struggles.
yeah, to see that we together we can do more than
Yeah,
by ourselves.
exactly. So this has been beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on, Annika. We talked about gratefulness. So what are you grateful for today or this week?
I'm grateful for living in a country where I can go out. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for being healthy, for being able to help, because that's what we do in today.
Mhm.
And because helping other people, it doesn't only give them good, it gives me good.
Yeah.
Because because of the same biology we talked about before.
Yeah, I
And
think I would actually add that as a quick fix right now. Try to help someone else
yeah,
because it brings up your good mood as well.
absolutely. Yeah, that is a good quick fix.
Yeah,
And we have to look for those quick fixes that we have within ourselves, that we don't have to buy, that the ones that are always there.
right. Please share with our listeners where people can find out more about you. You have an ebook that they can download, so please mention your site and your.
Yes, you can find me on my website, askdrannika.com. It's askdrannika.com. And when you come to the first page, straight away, you'll find my free ebook, and you can just register and download it right there. And I'll talk more about this brain body based system kind of things. I always talk about that.
It's nothing
Because
new, right? It's just like now it's more trendy than ever.
yeah, but that's to me, that's what it is. And if you want to feel good, you have to care for yourself in a good way,
Mm.
basic way.
Thank you so much for taking the time. This has been very insightful and a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been very nice talking to you too, and a great subject to talk about right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Annika. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found some good reminders for managing your own stress in this episode. Of course, these are all things that we, usually already know about, but sometimes we just need to be reminded. I'll be back soon with another solo episode on what's next, reflections on how to get back to business after the crisis, or something along the lines. Until then, be well, take care of yourself, sleep enough, meditate, eat healthy, and if you can still go outside, breathe some fresh air. Speak soon.